Welcome to the Public Safety Committee. My name is Ann Thalheimer. I am the chair of the committee. Today is Monday, May 11th. It is 6:33 p.m. I am joined here in chambers with committee member Councilor Jenny Rivera. I am joined online by Vice Chair of the Public Safety Committee, Patty Devine. I am also joined online by Councilor Israel Rivera. And in chambers, we have Councilor Purcell, Councilor Sullivan, Mike Gallagher from the DPW. We also have Councilor Panich, and we are joined by three members, two online and one in person of the Commission on Disabilities who will speak later on. We also have two guests to speak about Alianza, and we are joined by members of the public. Let's begin.
Motion to take up item 1 off the table.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so the update on this is that we actually have to table it as the notes are not quite, they're not finished yet, but we should have them in time for our next meeting. So we're gonna make a motion to table that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, duly tabled. Yep. Oh, I forgot the thing, and it's sitting right in front of me. So, because Councilor Devine is not with us in person, we might have to redo that. I gotta read the thing. Okay, motion to take a roll call vote that for the purposes of this meeting would be applicable to all motions to remove an item from the table, place items on the table, package items, or suspend the rules unless there is an objection.
Second.
Okay, so we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so that is done. Jeffrey, do we need to back up and redo officially the thing we just did?
I think you're fine.
Okay, just wanted to check, just keeping it kosher. While we're on this, thank you again to folks who have joined us in chambers and online. Also, many thanks to our translators. This is being recorded and shared through Holyoke Media, translated into Spanish, and is available on Channel 15. So many ways for folks to watch and get involved. Okay, so item 1 we have tabled.
Motion to take up item 2.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. All right, item 2, introduced by myself and Councilor Purcell, is to invite Alianza to an upcoming public safety meeting for a conversation highlighting the work that they are doing in Holyoke to end domestic and intimate partner violence and to speak about their new prevention initiative, Basta Ya. So we have two folks from Alianza. If you'd like to come join us, come take a seat on the infield, as it were, and introduce yourselves. And by all means, we'd love to hear what you're doing. We'd like to hear about Basta Ya. I know that you've prepared a series of slides. Jeffrey, if we can have those ready to go as the conversation begins. I know you know, make sure when you're speaking, just turn on the microphone, make sure the green light is on, and let's begin. Thank you so much for coming.
Gladys is going to do most of the speaking. So my name is Carmen Nieves. I am the executive director of Alianza, formerly Women Shelter Compañeras. Thank you very much to this committee for allowing us to talk about the issue, answer any of the questions that the public or any of the council folks have. And I am excited to introduce somebody who doesn't have an introduction, is Gladys LeBron, who I pulled out of retirement to help us with this grant. We received a $200,000 grant from the Department of Public Health to be able to talk to the community about intimate partner violence and through focus groups, community engagement. I'm hoping it's a 10-year grant. I'm not sure with funding and all of that, but it's a great opportunity for this community to let an agency like Alianza know where have we fallen short. Is it police? Is it services? Is it court? We want to hear from the community what they feel on this issue. So I will turn it over now to Gladys.
Thank you, Carmen, for introducing our purpose here. And thank you all, my colleagues from previous and for the current ones. So as Carmen mentioned, let me just give you a little backstory because I know we've seen the request in the past through CDBG, where Alianza, before known as Women Shelter Compañera, has come through requesting fundings to support the work that they do. I just want to remind or give you some back information. Women Shelter Compañeras, which is how we probably knew it before, Alianza, has been in existence for the last 35 years. I'm speaking too loud here. 35 years, and they have been doing intervention work, which they've been doing a magnificent job in doing the work that they do. I've come on board to support this particular project that she just introduced that has to do with prevention. So I want us to think about, they've already been doing the intervention, assisting these individual survivors who are coming forward with the domestic, calling that they're in and needed that support. We want to figure out how can we then prevent, right? So this particular project is geared more in Holyoke, Chicopee, and Springfield. Is to target the Latinx community. And why? You probably ask yourself, it's been asked already, why only Latinx community? This assists many other communities and ethnic groups. It's not only Latino community, but at the time that they wrote the grant had to do with the numbers that were really, showing that there was a high volume of calls and hotlines. This is how they had to base it on. So we're one of 10 other communities who received this funding. So, in the eastern part, there's the Brazilian community, Cape Verdean, there's a Black group doing it, Black Caucus group doing it. There's other groups doing it. So I'm just trying to share with you why we had to go with the Latinx community. No one but have been exempt from helping with the process, meaning like filling out a survey that I'm also going to be talking about. So this gives an opportunity anybody to answer it, right? The only one that we're staying focused with is the focus group. So is the Latinx community. We want to hear from it. And from these groups to talk about, so Holyoke, Chicopee, and Springfield, as she mentioned, the subgroups are the young adult 18 plus, any survivors, immigration communities, the 55 plus mature individuals, and the LGBTQ plus community were next on the groups. It's been very well accepted by the communities that I'm speaking on. Working in Springfield, Chicopee, I met here, for example, with the chief of police immediately when I took on this job because I wanted to make sure, even with the mayor. So we've been around, meeting with individuals that when this data comes out, we're not kind of taken back. We're hoping that, where the feedbacks are the best, but sometimes, when you're doing, this is a research, and when doing research, people get not the greatest answers. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. But let me just say that good information is coming out of it. There's been a lot of allies supporting what we're doing, meaning giving us ideas and ways that we can probably get this message and education out in the community already. The data will be analyzed. We're looking at sometime in the fall. Oh, sorry. And by the way, yeah, this is she brought it, Carmen got a packet for you guys that it shares the collaboration and partnership what we're working with is UMass research who are doing and are the coordinators and the ones who will take on the data and analyzing it as well. So we don't even get to see it. We are part of it, doing it, but not seeing it directly. If we need more packets, we can get them out to you in the future, when we come around. I can bring them up. But that is where we're at with this project and why it was important, and I had to address it to you individually, independently at a conversation. We asked ourselves, and from someone like me who worked in the workforce development for 18 years, I saw many individuals coming in front of me telling me that they had to flee their situation at home and leaving a job that they were so responsible as an employee, and never the employer and the employee and the employer kind of match that situation of what could be happening, right? All of a sudden, I got a good employee, fleds like that. I don't know nothing more about this individual. Most of the time was people telling me, I gotta go, Gladys, I gotta go. I'm in the middle of a, domestic dispute. I've tried to get out, I can't. I love my job, but I can't stick around. This is a scenario of one of what I want to share. I asked myself at this too. I don't know if there's any data ever been shared or research on it, but we have a lot of trauma in our school system, right, with children's at times. Ask ourselves, could this be part of some of the families witnessing, these children witnessing what it is all about, right? That they can witness trauma in a way where on the weekend something happens, this kid cannot get to school, cannot focus, they're being called they're addressing them as a behavior issue, and is the way that they can cope with what is happening at home. So this is dear to me. It's very personal. Personally, I never witnessed myself any domestic violence, but I do come from a woman who I encourage myself to say, I'm sorry, not encourage, but I say that she encouraged me not to accept mental, physically, or verbal abuse, because she lived a verbal abuse for many years, and this is how we got here. In 1969, my mother decided to get on a plane with 4 children, not knowing where she was going, made it here, and meaning to Springfield, Massachusetts. And it is why, I am so devoted to this project, because I know that the effect and the mental breakdown that it can do to you as an individual and families as well. I like to say...
I was going to ask if we could go to the next slide.
Go ahead.
And feel free to walk through the slides as well as you're talking, in part because we can see some of these statistics on this side, but if you wanted to kind of tab through the slides and talk about some of these statistics.
Thank you so much. So I just want to acknowledge, I understand we haven't been funded on our community block grants for a couple of years now for the city of Holyoke, and I understand that. There's so many great organizations that also deserve the assistance. But I do want to let you know that a majority of our services and calls come from the city of Holyoke as well. But we're known throughout the state, we're known throughout the country with our expertise and assistance in our model of intimate partner violence. And these are some of the services that we offer. So the next slide. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to interrupt and ask.
Step in. We usually do a little, and then we'll have questions and things at the end.
Oh,
but let's
perfect.
definitely walk through your
Okay.
presentation.
All right.
I think this is important.
So this just shows some of the statistics of who we help in our shelter. So we do have a shelter in an undisclosed location. During the pandemic, we were one of the few shelters in the state that stayed open and tried to assist the community. And the administration at the time here were very helpful in helping me be able to do that while the horrific, what was going on at the Soldiers Home, I was still trying to get families together or keep families or put them in hotels, as we all knew during that time frame. We did not close our shelter. Our hotline was very, very busy, and we supported as best we can. And again, we are, the very few. We have a 24-hour, it's not an answering service. It's a live person. It's somebody that actually works at Alianza. We have 3 shifts. We have, we're 24/7, we truly are. And we also have, for a generation that will not talk to a hotline anymore, they want to do it through text or through chat. I've kicking and screaming, I've done that. I've made that possible for folks to get that service. Those are some of the stats.
I was going to ask if do you have the numbers for those off the top of your head that we could share, or should we do that later on?
Oh, I always have numbers off the top of my head. So last year, we received 875 calls from folks here in Holyoke, and your police department can attest to that. Our courts, we have an advocate at Holyoke District Court under our MOVA, which is the Massachusetts Office of Victim Assistance. It is a program that I don't know how we're paying for it. It's, we have 3 FTEs, and we are constantly cut and level funded, but we're still there. I want folks out in the community that hear me now, please, if you need any assistance at Holyoke District Court, please ask for Alianza and we can help you with that. That's some data.
Excellent. Next slide.
So the next slide is now what Gladys talked about, Basta Ja. And I just also want to say, if you can let us know if we can still do the survey online. if that's still possible. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So you all have this in your packet. I've been around also the local community, putting it out in the convenience stores, placing in places where we think that it should be visual. We're participating in a lot of tabling events in the community, inside and outside when it's been warm, Easter hunt events, anything that we can set up a table and share the information. So for those who know who I am, my outreach always has to be where people are at, and trying to get the word out as much as possible. So it was in the local newspaper, in the Sol newspaper. It was sent over to be put on the community channel in Holyoke, Chicopee, and Springfield. It's been in other articles out of Springfield, anywhere. Like I said, all those 3 cities that I mentioned, Holyoke, Chicopee, and Springfield. I've been a part of C3 groups, meetings on a weekly basis for Holyoke, Springfield, and Chicopee, and exposing the information so that we can get this. We're trying to reach up to 300. We're almost there. We're about to wrap up our listening sessions by the end of the month. The only one that will be happening that we're holding off is the LGBTQ plus community, that many events are happening in June, so we're going to take advantage of those moments to reach out to that community to then form the focus group that we need to listen from this particular community. But we're about to wrap it up. And again, I just say thank you for the time and how the conversation started with you and I. As you can, witness, you participated in attending an event that for the vagina monologue, and that was someone independently out of us, but she decided that they wanted to do this to support and fundraise. And many times our allies are individuals who want and understand what is really happening, and they come forward and support us. So like many events that are coming up, we're having a 5K that I would love Carmen to share. There's a lot of other events that are being organized, a legislature event coming up as well in the fall. But it's more to try to get the community to understand. I know Carmen is very humble to not share most of what we really go through, and me witnessing the things she can do, miracle without no funding, is incredible. I mean, and again, I'm independently because I could either be retired or supporting it. And I'm telling you that what I see that is happening in an organization that does not at times get fully funded or either level funded at times, what they can do with the individuals that they serve. But at the same time, there's, efforts that people do pick up on to support us. And she can share about ways that other communities have helped us, and like a 5K, people have done 5K for us. There's people who say, how can I support? They donate baskets during the holidays for the families that, like sort of like a wish list for these children who sometimes, and understanding that situation.
We're very fortunate to be our main office here in Holyoke. We're very fortunate to do that. We rent from the Steam Building. We have a 10-year lease there that is coming up. So we have been there that long, and I hope that we continue to stay in Holyoke. But I do want to say one of the intersection of homelessness and domestic violence, and I know that the public is, I read the Facebook post as well, I read the complaints as well, and folks are really struggling. What has happened to Alianza? Why aren't they able to help like we used to? But the demand is so great. So I just want to publicly say that. Please don't let that stop you from calling us. We will try to find a way.
Excellent, thank you. Is there another slide? Have we reached the end of the slides?
I think that's,
We made it short because we knew it was
No,
limited timing, and I'm also on a time crunch. I just want to let you know I left the school board. I got to go into executive for 7, so I don't know how much time do you need from me, but
we will move to questions. Do members of the committee or any city councilors have questions? I do see that Councilor Nicole Masonette has joined us online as well. Councilor Purcell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you both for coming in this evening. Can I just say something to bring light to the situation, and that is, say her name, Emma McDonald.
Oh, yes.
Say her name, please, Emma McDonald.
Yes.
That's it. That brought a big horrible shining light on what domestic violence really is. And they did it in a public building with people right next door. It just doesn't matter.
Right.
Domestic violence is bad, and we need to figure out a way. And you're doing it by outreach, and that's the way it should be done. The very first person, as a new city councilor, I got to meet was in the mayor's office, and she went to your organization and she acquired housing. And it was important because she got away out of the situation and she got her own apartment. And then she got an apartment that turned out to be a slum with vermin and mold, and it's an out-of-town landlord. And she wanted to get out of that situation, but she couldn't because after suffering the abuse of her domestic partner, this landlord wouldn't give her a copy of her lease, which would help her get out of that because she had the voucher from y'all. And he wouldn't give her a copy of the lease, which would allow her to get out of that. So that's another form of abuse.
Absolutely.
It's just beyond reason why people think it's all right to be unhuman to humans.
Right.
To me, and bless you, you're angels as far as I'm concerned.
Well, thank you.
Thank
We
you for all you
couldn't do
do.
it. We couldn't do it with our community partners and other agencies that the all night to name them. So publicly, thank you.
And-
So we would reach out to attorneys to help with that. We would reach out to other community partners, other landlords to be able to help someone like that. But that is our everyday. That is our absolute everyday work.
And so I asked where did she get the voucher from, and she mentioned you guys, and then that made sense because she even told us that she was
Right.
suffering.
It could be Holyoke Housing Authority, because we, for Section 8 or a unit that comes with the subsidy as well, but we make those relationships with landlords and with other community partners.
And that's one of the reasons I filed an order with Councilor Thalheimer for a tenants' right office,
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
so that there's another outlet for us to
Yeah.
help you.
Yeah, well, if you ever need me at one of those meetings, I would love to turn my hat that way.
Well, it's going to be coming up in the fall, so we'll
I
talk to you.
would absolutely, I have hundreds of cases, sir, about that kind of, that kind of abuse.
So how
landlords.
bad is it to go from one very horrible situation, such as domestic violence, to go to a situation where you're living?
Right. And the
place
the
is-
person harming you is probably still involved. There might be children still involved.
There was, and the child had
Yes,
autism.
yeah.
So it's just like there was no.
We could talk, Councilman.
Thank you very much.
This is exactly the kind of community building and connection building that I wanted to have happen. Councilor Rivera.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question. Are you guys collaborating with other organizations on this?
Absolutely. So with Basta Ya we are, and we have an advisory board, if you don't mind my saying. Yeah, so we have a few folks, I think it's 15, very active.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of the few grants that allows me to pay for food, so we get people to show up. So we have an advisory council that we get their guidance and, from the community as well. And community partners, again, we are a very small organization. We have a $2.2 million annual budget, and 89% of that are grants. So we don't have a lot of money. This is why she mentioned our first fundraiser officially is going to be September 26th at the Reservoir, where we're going to have a 5K, and we'll our first one. And we've been treated so well by the Water Commission. Thank you all, those folks there. I went to them and the folks at the lodge as well. This is our first time doing it. We are very low key. We barely ask for help. We know we're not in Boston, and know people here don't have deep pockets. And again, that there's so many great agencies that also need this funding. So we're going to try this. So we hope we get the support from the community.
Okay, that's excellent, because well, you guys know where I work. I won't mention it here. But we just did a Mother's Day event where
Yes.
it involved domestic violence,
Yes.
and did
No,
you
but
get to join us?
No, but we've heard, and it's a great organization you work for that I won't mention either, but yes, we consider you all great partners.
And there was at least 30 to 35 women. We had a guest speaker, and she comes from a church and domestic violence, and
The faith community is a great support to us as well. Many people find that, they heal, and I have partners, we've done trainings for the faith community, anywhere that we can do the help. We're a very small organization as far as staff, so any support that we get. So the faith community is a great support for many survivors.
Alrighty, thank you. I will be connecting you with
Oh,
them.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. So I just want to read into the record that if someone is in need of the 24-hour hotline, that number is 877-536-1628.
Correct.
Are there other ways that folks in need or folks who want to support can find you?
So we have a website. It's www.alianza.dv.org. We have a wish list on there. We are always looking for board members, volunteers, and we have a chat on that as well. That's our 24-hour chat if somebody doesn't want to reach us at the hotline.
Excellent. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so
coming
much
in.
sincerely for having
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you.
One of my goals as chair was to start being able to highlight different organizations in Holyoke, and this
Well, it was
seemed,
such a treat seeing you at the fundraiser, so thank you for supporting us that way, too.
it was a magnificent production. And again,
Thank you.
congratulations to those folks. Thank you again.
Thank you. Anytime you have any questions, don't feel free. You got my email.
Absolutely.
Reach out and I'll be able to answer anything. Thank you.
Yep. Counselor Devine, I see your hand.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
I just wanted to thank these ladies, and I've known Gladys for a long time, and they're doing a wonderful job, and I just wanted to tell them I appreciated it.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you again. All right. So, motion on item 2. I imagine it's been complied with as we've had this excellent presentation and discussion.
Second?
I believe we have to do the roll call vote. So, all in favor?
Aye.
So Councilor. All right, and I am also an aye. So Councilors Devine and Councilor Rivera and Councilor Tallheimer are in 3-0 accord that this has been complied with. Thank you so much.
Motion to take up item 3?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, Councilor Devine, you're good with us taking up item 3? Excellent. All right.
Yes.
So, all right, cool. Item 3. Filed by Councilors Panich and Tallheimer, ordered that representatives of the DPW and Holyoke's Emergency Response Team join the Public Safety Committee for an in-depth presentation on the city's snow response protocols and a lessons learned analysis based on Holyoke's response to the past 2 major snow events. I know this feels like a long time ago, but this was the earliest time we could kind of get it into the mix that felt workable. This analysis is intended to, 1, better inform the public and the council about the details of how snow removal is managed in the city, 2, correct misunderstandings, if any, 3, provide an opportunity for a public exchange of information among the relevant city departments, the public and councilors, and 4, provide the council and the public the information and tools we need to be better partners for our emergency responders and DPW professionals. We are joined by Mike Gallagher, who we mostly just called Gallagher. You're welcome to come into the infield and join us. I mean, or we could say you can join us on the other side of the rail, but I like the infield a little bit more, so. All right.
Good evening, councilors.
Good evening. Thank you for coming. I don't think that we were able to get the emergency response team to join us. That's okay. I imagine this is going to be the start of a discussion. And I think, and if Councilor Panich, you also want to speak to this a little bit, part of the reason that we filed this was just to start the discussion, in part because we got a lot of snow and we had a long snow ban, and there were a lot of questions about if this, then this, and what happens if this happens again. And none of us wanted to talk about what happens again in February, but now we are past parade season, and perhaps this is a good opportunity to start talking about things that went well, things that were challenging, and things to be aware of for the future. And I also wanted to sort of dovetail this conversation with some of the discussion we're going to have later on with the Commission on Disabilities as well. Councilor Panich, do you want to say anything?
No, that was pretty much it.
Okay.
My thinking at the time was that obviously you all were going straight out. You were dealing with emergencies as they arose, and without necessarily having a whole lot of, forethought about what if X, what if Y. You just had to deal with it as it happened. But from our point of view, for the most part, I think the council was seeing, all right, we got our cars into the garage, but some of us are not capable of getting them out again. We have physical challenges. running back and forth to a garage during a snow emergency didn't really take care of it. I had constituents talking about the phenomenon where the giant snowblowers come by, and they come by after people have shoveled their sidewalks, and they put down another 8, 10, 12 inches of snow on the sidewalks. And that's a real problem for a lot of the Highlands. If the truck goes without, a container truck to take the snow away. And it's anomalies like that I was hoping we could think through and talk about how to avoid next time.
Okay, so the January 25th snowstorm, that was the before we got it for the last couple of years. That was the snowstorm I was afraid we were going to get one of these days, and we got it. You see, I'll just go to how we responded with what we have. That week leading up to it, in the middle of the week, the forecast was still talking about 10 plus inches of snow. And as the end of the week went on, the forecast escalated, and the escalation of the forecast is what we ended up getting. In the middle of the week, it was on Wednesday. I sent notice to our highway foreman and our automotive supervisor to make sure that all the trucks are gone through, including the trucks that we rarely use, and make sure we have the brine and for pre-treating the roads ready to go, and we started our preparations. And then as we got closer and realizing how long duration of event it was going to be, I was in email communication with the highway foreman over that particular weekend. I was doing a lot of work from Boston at the MMA conference, and in communication, when we get a storm, some of the things we do, like that storm was on a Sunday. On the Saturday prior to that, a highway foreman was in with some people, and they were out with the brine trucks. I don't know if you ever noticed those. They spray down liquid de-icer, which is really it's a salt brine mixed to a 23% solidity, so it goes down on the road, and then it creates a base. It helps a little bit, especially in the beginning, and it's a preventive for an ice buildup, and it can buy us a little bit of time till the trucks get out on the road. But with a normal storm coming in, we would just bring in our first response crew. When the time would come, we would try to get a rough estimate of when it's going to snow and have them come in once we think the snow's going to start. On that particular Sunday, we had the first response crew in at 9 a.m. on the day of the storm. We couldn't hit we couldn't put every single thing we had out there at it at once, because what we were able to do for that storm from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. that night, we had a total of 12 trucks out of our trucks out on the road. 9 of them large trucks and 3 of them smaller trucks, and then where we ended up having to fall behind is was later on. But just to know, that Sunday between 2 and 3 p.m. is when the snow accumulated to a point where we brought in our private contractors. What we had for private contractor trucks was 12 small plow trucks. They only we have not had in several years any contractors with larger plow trucks. We used to have a couple contractors with large trucks with wing plows, And we've had other contractors over the years with larger equipment. Due to factors like the cost of insurance for contractors to keep snowplows on the road all year or through the winter, and the fact that the last 10 years we haven't had as much snow as we used to have, except this winter kind of decided it wanted to make up for it. But we've got we've got less than half the contractors I remember having over 20 years ago. They're just the amount of work's not there for them, and it has an effect because we typically on a big snowstorm we do not have enough trucks to adequately and timely address a large storm. But then at 11, anyway, back to the date of the storm, 11 o'clock that night, we did a shift change because you can't run the same people forever, and we needed to come back with a full crew the next morning. But just to give you an idea on the shift change, the replacement crew was 11 trucks. 4 of the trucks were large trucks, and 7 of them were small trucks. Because we only had 4 qualified CDL drivers. So during the middle of the night, during that massive storm, we only had 4 of our large trucks out on the road. The rest of them were parked in the garage. We did not have drivers for them. And then the next morning at 7 o'clock, when that crew that went home at 11 o'clock that night came back in, then we were able to put out all the trucks that we had available. Some of them at that point were in and out of the mechanic shop. Some of our older trucks, they fall victim. That kind of a snowfall really takes a toll, and it takes a lot to move that much snow, and especially when it's coming down heavy in the storm. It's a few of you were out there during some of that storm with me when I was driving around checking on things, and it's quite the operation. And I want to note that overnight shift. Some of the people in our snow plows, that was their first time ever plowing. A couple of them had supervisors riding around with them. Over the years, we've had a turnover. Just about everybody that helped train me and that I used to work with back when I was snow plowing, they've either left or retired or what have you over the years. It's just, and we recently, back in the summer, we lost a handful of experienced drivers for their personnel matters that I cannot disclose in open committee. But we just keep plugging away at it. Now on Monday, I made a decision for Monday morning to deploy the big old military snowblower that we have, as you mentioned. And it turned out there was a malfunction in the chute, and the operator did not realize it right away. And the purpose of putting out that is that machine can move more snow than anything else we have. Now I could not put trucks out there with it to haul the snow away. There were no trucks available for hauling snow. The trucks we have were busy plowing snow, and all different potential contracted trucks. They've got all other jobs too. Plus, hauling snow is time consuming. The intent was similar to something we did back in the winter of 2012, 2013. It was, I believe it was in January. I don't know if anyone remembers. We got a massive blizzard back then. It was I think the snow total was more than what this past snowstorm was. From if my memory serves me correctly, and we had to use the giant snow blowers just to open up some of the residential streets. The snow was piled up too heavy for the plows. And that's the same thing as like the smaller trucks, our contractor trucks and our DPW trucks. The smaller trucks and even some of the bigger trucks at that point were having trouble pushing the snow back further. So I made an attempt to use that in some of the neighborhoods where I thought the disruptions would be minimal. We do put that truck out on that snow blower out. It has a separate run of areas where we can send that without having to have trucks haul it away, where there are no sidewalks or any other issues with residents. And I made an attempt to try and have some more effect out there on the roads because we were buried in the snow. And one of the biggest factors why I was concerned with a storm like this coming is we're low on manpower, as it was, and at the time of this storm, I made a few notes. It's like we actually had 5 employees out on workers' comp, 3 of which are CDL drivers that can drive the large plow trucks. We had another employee out on a short-term disability off-the-job injury who's also a CDL driver. That right there would have been 4 more trucks on that overnight shift. And also I had one employee that's no longer with us that a couple days before that storm, he went AWOL and never came back. He was a newer employee. It happens. I've seen several hundred people come and go in my time at the DPW. Of course, it's been 26 years. But one of the objectives looking at for future winters is I've requested some additional advertising money in our administrative budget to try and get out advertisement to contractors with some bigger equipment. We compete with other municipalities, and we had recently upgraded our rates so that we could get be more competitive with getting trucks in, but so to lure them away from other municipalities, that may take some doing. But we figure we got to start with some advertising. And I mean, some of the other measures, to not just go down in the way of the snow plowing itself and then the starting of the snow removal after that. A lot of the aspects, and we did have to clear a lot of city-owned parking lots, your senior center and other properties that we have around the city, and all the parks crews had to clear all the park sidewalks and lots. It just, and we had a lot of the city sidewalks. Everything took time because when you have that much snow to move, it really is a time-consuming event. And some of the other things before the storm, not to leave out, there was a lot of communication between the mayor and the police department, fire department. The notices went out early on the parking ban that was put in effect. The mayor had the emergency operations center at fire headquarters opened up, and the DPW and the police and fire all had representatives there. And there's a lot of communication behind the scenes that goes on with such a heavy storm. And I think I'm running out of things to say. I focused on the January snowstorm because the one we got in February, in my mind, that went a lot better than the one in January we did. And it did pile on more snow, but we were able to get out there, and a few of our drivers that first got their taste in that massive snowstorm, they had a little bit more experience, and that one went better overall.
Excellent, thank you. No, I appreciate this because every time we speak, I learn more things. Like I didn't know that we have 170 miles of plowable road in Holyoke. Yes,
It's something like that.
that's a lot of road. I do want to note that we are joined online by Councilor Linda Vakin as well. And usually this is the part where we sort of start opening it up to questions and discussions. And I saw Councilor Sullivan's hand immediately go up.
Yeah. Thanks. I'm here to back up the DPW on this. I want to expand on a couple of things that Mike already brought up, but I want to go into a little more detail. First, the snow blowers, as everybody's referring to them, those are military surplus. The military doesn't get rid of things because they still have useful life. They get rid of them for a reason. They're designed to clear runways, all right? Not city streets. So as you mentioned earlier, the capacity of these things, when we've got nothing but small trucks up there, some of these trucks are getting filled up in less than a minute, all right? So there's a major problem there. This is all infrastructure that we need to develop out that's been neglected for years and years and years, all right? As far as he mentioned, 170, just think about it, 170 miles of road to clear, and we got 4 trucks out there? Give me a break. And those trucks, they have them ready for the storm, but a lot of the trucks, they're gonna break down with that kind of heavy use real quick. They're too old, they're not being replaced fast enough. They're not being rotated out. And what you're spending in maintenance, trying to keep them running, and downtime, and then overtime resulting from guys waiting for it to get fixed, far offsets the cost of new vehicles and replacement. All right? The private contractors, right? Mike mentioned it. We're in competition with the other cities, and they've made deals with these people way ahead of time. And the other thing with the insurance, all right? If a lot of contractors have gotten out of the business of doing snow plowing exactly because of that. So when we put out a public bid, all right, the contractor doesn't know that they're going to get any work or not, whether they're going to have a dry season or a heavy season, but they're going to pay the same for that insurance, all right? And the insurance has gone up astronomically. So without a guarantee from the city of a minimum amount of work, it's not worth it for them to get the insurance and roll the dice that they might or might not get some work. Okay? So that's something we also have to think about in putting out the RFP, the bids for it at the year, that it can't be just based on per snowstorm or per hour. All right? If you want them ready on standby and you want them to bid, it has to cover this, or they're not going to be in the business. Mike touched on it very gently, but the skill set and the turnover in the DPW is atrocious. All right? As soon as we get somebody competent and qualified and skilled, it's a stepping stone to move on to a better paying job. All right? And to that point, we have vacancies that never, ever get filled. Even though we budget for it, we're not budgeting enough money at the proper level to attract people, except as entry level. Entry level as a CDL driver, a heavy motor equipment operator, you're going to be gone in 18 months because everybody else is paying anywhere from municipally, some of them are just a few bucks more, but you go into the commercial field, which is where you're competing, it's $10 to $15 an hour more. All right, and that's all they're looking for now is a year experience. Used to be 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. No, that's how that's how competitive and the lack of staffing there is in these fields right now in the trades. and the complaints about sand and stuff like that, we didn't touch on that, but we no longer sand the roads, all right? Because what we've learned is a lot of the sand is what has been plugging up the sewer lines and causing backups and flooding problems. It's the sand, the runoff, what happens after the road gets sanded, all right? And the stuff that gets swept up now has also become, thanks to Mass DEP and the EPA, is also a disposal problem of the stuff that gets swept up. So this is another new problem that didn't exist just a few years ago, all right? We also, when we do have a major event like that, and if we had the proper equipment, where is the snow going to go? All right? Where is it going to go? So we ran into a situation this year, I hope we don't run into it again in the future, where you think the city trucks, the state trucks, they're going over the Muller Bridge, they're going over the South Hadley Falls Bridge, plowing it right into the river. That's all fine. We go down Canal Street, we go down Ray Street, we're plowing it to within 3 feet of the canal, right? We find a place, a local business willing to put some acreage out, and as soon as the city starts dumping there, the Conservation Commission runs down and measures 100 feet from the canal and says, nope, you got to move it back. This is a problem, all right? Have I got everything? Skill set, trucks, private contractors, equipment breakdowns, sand plugging sewers. I think I've touched on everything I wanted.
We got a whole range of things, but I do like the Conservation Commission, so. Yeah, so do you want to finish your thought, or we have a number of counselors on deck?
No,
so.
that's it for me.
Okay, thank you so
Well,
much.
yeah, I will finish my.
Oh, okay.
As counselors, we're all going to have our chance with the mayor to talk about the upcoming budget and stuff like this. The DPW has been neglected for years and years and years and years. We really need to do something. This is just one example, the snowstorm removal, of everything that's going on, whether it's rubbish removal, potholes, snow removal, trash, you name it. The DPW needs some serious attention in this town.
You had to mention potholes. Councilor Purcell.
Thank you, Mike, for the DPW and everything you guys do. My whole thought about a crazy storm like we had in January is just breathe. It's going to be cleaned up. It's not going to be done right away because of how big of a storm it was. But I had so many people that were freaking out within the first 8 hours of the storm being done that didn't get what they wanted immediately. Nothing happens like that, especially when you have a major snowstorm like that. But we did have some problems after the snowstorm happened and days after it happened. And I'll be specific. It was on Walnut Street. And you know the story about Walnut Street. So it's not just Walnut Street. You could say any one-way street with parking on both sides of the street. There's nowhere to put the snow. So it's going to go to this side, and then the snow's going to go to this side, and then you're supposed to move your truck, your car, your vehicle on that side, and then the other side. And it's up to people to do that. This is all the part of the plan. People have to be engaged with us and helping us getting the job done. There's no other way around it. We have to do that. We all have to be one community on that. But days after the snowstorm, I'm just going to use Walnut Street as an example. One side didn't get done fast enough, and the people on Walnut Street, they hate to call me, only because they know how busy I am doing other things. And they help out that street. But they really complained about one side of the street not getting done completely, and it came to light when an ambulance got stuck in the snow. And I said, whoa, and you were notified, and I was notified, and we got the heck over there, because nobody, I don't know if anybody died in this snowstorm, but that was a real possibility if that ambulance couldn't get out of there, and they were trying to get that patient to the hospital. That's when something bad could have happened, and it didn't happen, luckily, which is good. And one of the complaints I had was, after you and I both showed up, and you had gone, and I was there, the person came up to me and said, "Did she talk to you about it?" And this is not to throw stones or anything. She said that this side of the street wasn't done, and it hadn't been done well after the storm. And you said it didn't look so bad. And she said it doesn't look so bad now right here at the spot where the ambulance was because we, the citizens, came out here and shoveled it so that the ambulance could get out of there. And that's not pointing fingers, it's not throwing stones, it's just an emergency situation that could have been avoided if those little small trucks that can only go down that street because it's a one-way street with parking on both sides. And we have handicap parking signs too that we have to worry about. And elderly people that they can't come out and do it, so they have to have somebody help them do that. And just that, I guess my thing is to make sure that those one-way streets with parking on both sides, that the plows make sure they get one side really good so that people can really move over, and then when it's all done, go to the other side and get that really good so stuff like an ambulance getting stuck doesn't happen. And I had my very first meeting here on City Council, we had a group of citizens, the Chestnut Community Alliance came in, and they were asking about blinking lights. Because in Ward 4, we're a condensed neighborhood. We have a lot of apartments and a lot of one-way streets. All the wood streets. We should be the best streets in the world. Our streets are all named after wood and trees. But those flashing lights in the condensed neighborhoods lets people know that we have a parking ban. And that is really essential. If we could somehow get it into the budget, I'm all for making sure DPW is fully funded, but getting those flashing lights to let those condensed neighborhoods know that we have a parking ban. Besides all the other stuff, just another tool in your toolbox. And then my last statement I'll say, so that I don't run over time, is see, click, fix. How will that help us making sure, like this, the Walnut Street part, if they took pictures of that or sent a see, click, fix, all the people that were complaining about Walnut Street on the right-hand side, if they did a see, click, fix, how fast would that have been helpful? That's all I have. Thank you very much for all you do, DPW, and you too, Mike. Thank you.
Feel free to respond if you would like. I
Yeah,
know that
the Walnut Street trucks gone down those streets numerous times. They often have to. We try to send bigger trucks down. They often have to back out of them because cars are on both sides. And like, truck turns down Walnut Street and at say Sargent, and if he looks down Hampshire and they're on both sides down near the corner of Hampshire and there's no room for the truck to get out, he's best off not going down it at all. What happens, I can speak from experience, is once you start going, you go down the street and then you hit a point and you can't get by, and then there's multiple cars behind you, and then you have to call the police to come and get the cars out of the way, or either tow a car that's on the wrong side, or they got to back the other cars out so that you can back the truck out of there. And I'm not sure if it is exactly this storm or not, but that location I think you're talking about on Walnut Street, it looks to me like the ambulance might have gone in and out of the driveway and went over the snowbank. Because I was just looking, I took pictures of that particular spot, but there's always a lot of issues that happen, and a lot of these streets where there's a lot of on-street parking is where most of our problems usually exist. In a perfect world for snow plowing, there'd be no cars on the streets whatsoever. Like other communities have the luxury of having no on-street parking whatsoever, and then once it stops snowing, and the trucks can just push the snow right back in a couple of passes. But and I've also, with some of our newer staff, after we got beyond the initial storm and people shovel out their driveways, some of the guys, they were a little skittish about pushing it back and being concerned, and trying to sometimes trying to appease the residents and not burying in their driveways or sidewalks has a negative effect with clearing the road. And it can be a lose-lose situation for us. But I mean, I do encourage our drivers when they're plowing, and I think as some of these drivers get more experience, I try to tell them, push it back as far as you can all the time. And then maybe we don't have to go back, but it's hard to tell them push it back if they have to maneuver around parked cars. It's really our biggest obstacle. One of the storms this past winter, during the reverse parking ban, I had our office staff write down the list of streets that we had to call in the police department for cars on the wrong side. One reverse parking ban evening, 84 streets had cars on the wrong side, on both sides. All right.
Yeah, no, I think that is really important information, and it's something that those of us who had the great opportunity to ride with you during the storm, which I very much appreciated because it gave me a really important perspective, was exactly that, the number of cars that we rolled up on that were in the wrong place that the snowplow could not get around. Some of that is trying to get more word out about signing up for Everbridge and making sure that people are moving their cars where they need to be. All right.
Madam Chair, I just want to respond back to it. I didn't get the answer about C-Click Fix.
Councilor Purcell.
Sorry.
We will talk about C-Click Fix later on.
C-
I will come back to you if you'd like to talk about C-Click Fix.
We had plenty of reports over C-Click Fix on the, but the we had our staff and our supervisors out there, and moving the trucks around trying to address it. I'm not sure if for plowing a Walnut Street, I'm not sure if C-Click Fix would have made a difference.
I tend to agree. That might be an HPD non-emergency dispatch call. But, Councilor Panich.
Thank you. And, I appreciate the fact that all of this was happening in real time and you had to respond to emergencies. But I do want to come back to the giant snowblower. And yeah, I did see it at one point, and I can absolutely see that thing clearing runways. It's a really impressive piece of equipment. But I wonder if in the future arrangements could be made for it not to go down streets with sidewalks. I feel like I have to emphasize this for the sake of my constituents, because of course, one of the issues in a storm like that is that the DPW isn't the only entity that's having trouble suddenly ramping up their employees. We've got people out there who have made arrangements to, for instance, have their sidewalks cleared, and those arrangements work. And if they get buried again, they're 80 years old. They had somebody lined up to clear the walk once. They don't have somebody lined up to clear the walk twice. Maybe they can find somebody who isn't overbooked. Maybe they can afford to do it as many times as their sidewalk gets reburied. And I think we all, for all that it's annoying, we understand that if we're fortunate enough to have driveways, we're going to have to go out and shovel the driveways a few times. I've seen images of cool attachments that I'm sure we can't afford at the moment that allow a plower to lower a barrier and not plow snow into a driveway. But yeah, we all understand that the budget is what it is. But if we're threatened like that again, is there any possibility that we can sign up streets not to get hit that way? Because I got so many miserable people calling saying, we don't want to be difficult about this, but help.
I already plan to be more conscientious about where we deploy that machine. We do have areas that work in some scenarios, it might have been instead of the snow blower burying their sidewalk, it might have been a large wing plow. That could have happened. I don't want to say that we're never going to get snow on somebody's sidewalk again. It happens anytime we have a real snowstorm. I am hopeful in the coming years that we may be able to upgrade that piece of equipment. I spec'd out other communities have them too. It's a snow blower attachment that goes on the front of a payloader. And the more modern type of machine that's more maneuverable, and the operator could have better control over where the snow is sent. The objective, if we're able to do it right, is to use the machine and like land the snow on the tree belt and not the sidewalk. But there's certain neighborhoods, I believe. I think your complaints came from we call the Collins Streets in Highland Park there off Pleasant Street.
Those were some, but not all of them.
Huh? All right. Those are coming to my mind, and I don't intend to send the snow blower into that neighborhood again.
Thank you.
And I'm hopeful. Yeah. I'm hopeful that we don't have too many snowstorms that necessitate responding with that machine just to try and widen and open up residential streets to begin with. It was a heavy storm, and it was one of the moves I made to try and get the job done.
Yeah.
And,
and it's an awesome piece of equipment. Mm-hmm. I can see why.
Yeah.
But I also saw some of the aftermath, and it was really different from when a wing plow goes by and there's some excess shoved over. Mm-hmm. So, that was really just one thing I wanted to clarify. Otherwise, we do what we need to do, and I take all of the points about the need to upgrade some of our equipment and look at all of the issues with the DPW, because, we all know that you inherited a lot of the problems. Mm-hmm. And, you're doing what you can.
Thank you.
Excellent. Councilor Rivera.
Thank you. Mike, I wanted to start off by saying thank you so much. DPW did an amazing job. I don't think people realize that we hadn't had a snowstorm that bad, like, in years. I've lived here since '69, so I've seen it all. I myself went out before the storm got really bad, and I went up and down the streets, and I didn't do the plate numbers, but I let them know there's so many cars out there, move them. That was one of the biggest problems. Like, these people don't move their vehicles, but they were complaining, and I was getting tagged on all the complaints, whether it was down in the flats where I live, up in Ward 1, up in Ward 4, I was getting tagged. So, and I thank you, because I was bothering you a lot. Mike, this street, Mike, I got a call for this street. But I would do just one per street as they were calling me. And then I did put out there, if you see a problem on your street, just send me a text. And you were getting things done. You and your crew were getting things done. I don't think no one appreciated how your crew was out there. Like, it was really bad. I was supposed to go on with you, but it was already late and it was getting really bad, so I decided not to do it. But again, I want to thank you, and I would like to echo a lot of the stuff too that the other counselors did. And you guys did the best you can do with the equipment you've had that's been neglected for a lot of years. So at this point, when that budget comes up, I'm so supporting DPW. You guys need better equipment so that you guys can do a better job. So it was not you guys' fault. I thank you, and I thank you guys very much for everything you did throughout the storm.
Yeah. Thank you, counselors. I do want to mention we do have in recent last year we've gotten a couple of new large trucks and 3 new F-550s, and the current administration, the current mayor, he has been trying to prioritize, and he's made an effort to start replacing some of our equipment. We've been putting together a capital needs list and trying to, years go by, You get a couple trucks every year and upgrade them. It has not been lost on the mayor the need to upgrade our fleet. I just want to make sure I put that out there. But we do still have a little ways to go. We have I started there in 1999, and we still have some trucks that were there before me.
Councilor Sullivan, and then I see Councilor Israel Rivera online.
Yeah, I'll be brief. I don't want to beat the capital needs thing to death. Besides, we had supervisors out there. They have to oversee the work being done by the private contractors. The supervisors are out there in two-wheel drive vehicles that are 20 years old. There's point number one. For Mike, how many times did that snow blower break down during the course of the month it took to clear?
I'm not sure. It went down multiple times. I do not know the exact count. There are various reasons. I mean, and we have two of them actually, and one of them's got one of them now has a bad motor in it. It probably already had a bad motor in it. They're if you've seen them, they're old. You know, the city got them at a real low cost.
We're making the point.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Excellent, thank you. All good?
All good.
All right, Councilor Rivera.
Thank you. I want to first start by saying thank you to DPW and all the work they put in during that winter season. A lot of it, like Councilor Panic said, was in real time, so it's hard to build in those mechanisms, especially when it's been 3 or 4 years since we had a storm to that significance. What I will say though is, what did we learn in a sense, right? How can we better plan in the future? What are some systems that we could put in place to improve on some of the stuff? I don't want to say mishaps, but some things that were learning experiences in the moment, I guess. I think for me, it's more about analyzing the current systems we have in place and how we send our team out and trying to see how best we can improve that in the future if there's any gaps in services in a sense. I guess it falls in line with the capital assessment and planning stuff, but it's more of a programmatic evaluation in a sense, right? Where it's evaluating after the fact how everything was done, where complaints came from, and how you can in the future try to mitigate those. But aside from that, it was a moment where I think for all of us, we were learning on how best to solve the situation. And for that, I commend you guys.
I mean, some of the gap in service, I did mention it earlier, during the overnight of that storm when we had to switch out the crew, we had at least a half a dozen of our large plows, which are a lot more effective in moving snow than your F-550s or a couple of F-350 pickup trucks we had, were sitting in the garage because we had no drivers for them. And the perfect scenario, every truck we have is out on the road around the clock. And another measure, like I mentioned earlier, was we have a very low number of contractors working for us now, and that's a problem that hopefully with some advertisement early on this summer, maybe we can get some more contracted trucks, larger vehicles to come work for the city of Holyoke. We had more than twice as many contracted trucks several years back than we do now. And when it comes to plowing snow and when you're plowing snow, your truck should only be going no more than 10 to 15 miles an hour. The number of trucks you're able to put out on the road covering the ground is important. Is when the trucks have to be dedicated to simply trying to keep the main roads open and keep streets open enough in case an ambulance or a fire truck or any other emergency vehicle has to get down it. It's hard to be effective with clearing the entire width of the road. And I know some of it is going to be getting some more experience with our staff. I'm hopeful that we're able to retain some of the employees that we've recently hired and are able to do some more ongoing training. We already have established first response routes and established snowplow routes to break down into after the first response. We just typically do not have enough trucks to address them all at once.
Excellent, thank you. Are there any other questions, any other discussion on this? Councilor Purcell, is it about See-Click Fix?
No, it's not. I already
Okay.
let me get that out of my system.
Go ahead.
But it is a good thing to use. How about the flashing lights? I didn't hear an answer to that either, sorry.
Oh, I can also step in. We've discussed this in public safety. There is not a funding plan for them. Each of the little blinking lights, if I understand correctly, is about $2,500. And it is currently cost prohibitive at this time, plus the question of rolling, like where to roll it out. Like starting with one particular neighborhood, as we discussed, I think 2 sessions ago, felt non-comprehensive. We know that it's a public need, but this came up and we discussed it a piece ago.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Michael.
Excellent. Any other discussion on this? Not to shut you down. I was like, but we did this. We've done this one. All right. If there is no other further discussion on this one, I would entertain a motion that this order has been complied with.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so roll call.
Yes.
And also yes. And Councilor Devine has had to step from the call. So we have quorum on this. Councilor Panich, as one of the makers of the order, do you feel satisfied that this has been complied with? Oh, microphone, please.
Yeah, no, I really want to thank Mr. Gallagher for coming in and for all the information, and Councilor Sullivan, too. That was informative and helpful.
All right, excellent. All right, so item 3 has been complied with. I have a quick question. Mike Gallagher, are you able to stay with us for a little bit, or do you have to leave?
I just say there's another item on the agenda.
That's why I'm
right?
asking.
I'll stick around.
Awesome. Because thank you, Councilor Sullivan. If people are willing, I would entertain a motion to take up item 5 and 6 together as a package. Oh, great.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So Tallheimer, yes. Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
Excellent. So at this time, I would like to invite the very patient members of the Council on Disabilities to join us on the infield. We are joined by 2 members in public and 1 member in online, not in chambers. And item 5 is a communication from the Disabilities Commission regarding winter parking bans from April. And item 6 was my invitation, my order, invite any and all interested members of the Commission on Disability, which I believe is the Commission on Disabilities, to come to a meeting of the Public Safety Committee for a conversation highlighting the work that they are doing in Holyoke and recently raised concerns around parking and accessibility. Welcome. I would encourage members of the committee who are here, feel free to grab the other microphone and bring it over if you want, to state your name, tell us a little bit about why you're here if you would like, and jump into the discussion.
Hi, I'm Lynn Horan. I'm currently the chair for the Commission on Disability. And with me is our vice chair and also treasurer, Jessica Libram Martinez. And I guess I really want to start this off with, again, I'm the kind of person actually who pulls up to whether it's DPW or doing our trash pickup, where I'm going down the streets pulling up after this most recent snowstorm because I am fortunate enough to live in a not dense area. Sorry, I guess somebody's got something else on for an echo. Anyway, I live on off of Southampton Road, we have our own problems with a 400-foot driveway that we love until it's time to plow it, by the way. And one thing I've learned, I've lived in 7 different states in this country, from Florida up to this far north, is that we rely tremendously on snow removal according to your climate. We never had it built in the economy in the Baltimore, Washington area. So when we got dumped on, by the way, I'm very used to the fact that most of our trucks on a rare snowstorm would come from New York to Maryland. And this particular snowstorm we've been discussing tonight was all over the country. So I imagine that made it difficult to get help as well. But I guess what I really want to say is, again, I went after that snowstorm the first time I could get my mobility van, because I obviously do use a wheelchair, and I have only 2-inch clearance, so it's got to be pretty nice. And fortunately, I live on Southampton Road, and they always get to it because it's a major thoroughfare too. And when I went down and the guys were still cleaning up, probably a week later, I slowed down as they were motioning us through. Mr. Gallagher, I wanted to let you know. And the gentleman that was out there with the flags, when I rolled my window down, kind of went like this. If you can't see my face, I'm cringing as he was, because I'm sure he thought I was going to shout at him as to why things didn't get done. Instead, I thanked him profusely. Nicest smile I've ever seen after that. But I do also understand that many of my friends and neighbors live in much denser circumstances, as Jessica here does too, and she's going to tell you about a personal experience she came across on her street too in a minute. It is a really difficult thing. I really appreciated Ann and all of you having everybody come out. At first I thought we were going to have a hard time as we're starting to face warmer temperatures, because human beings have short memories sometimes, especially of difficult times. But it didn't take us long to all be reminded of how difficult it was. And again, as even some of our counselors have acknowledged it, to get that much a dump of a storm, and not just that much of a dump of a storm for so long consistently, but for, what was it, a week, 10 days later of excruciatingly sub-zero temperatures, did not help. No melting going on, nothing, no sun. So all of that, you know, and again, even for me, it's easier to look at it in a different way, but it did, and it does help to have a gathering like this. And I, you know, I can also tell you I have a husband who worked for the U.S. Forest Service in Montana, by the way, coldest place in the country. In Helena, when you're looking at that all over the nation, and he was out saving hunters and has driven all sorts of massive gear, from chippers to all sorts of things, being a forester himself. And he has always said there's nothing worse than drivers who are not experienced on a vehicle, because they will run them into the ground, requires more maintenance, and you guys have to deal with that too. So you get a lot of empathy in our family and even in our commission, because when the roads are clear, people like myself can still get to work. We can get our disabled kids to school. We can get to doctor's appointments. These are all the things we need to function, to be valuable contributors to the community, when so many people seem to wrongfully think that we're just sitting at home making good use of federal and government services, doing nothing, which is quite not the case. So we really do depend on all the community working together to keep us mobile. The only other thing I will say again, There is ADA law. More importantly, what we refer to is in terms of Massachusetts, it is the Architectural Access Board that deals with the state version of legalities in terms of accessibility. And I had submitted to Ann, and I think she or Jeffrey has got the document there, and I've also submitted a link. Like all laws, there's a lot to them, but I would strongly suggest any of the city council members also look at that. We are concerned about snow removal, and not just on roads, but as others have mentioned, curb cuts, sidewalks. I can't tell you how many times I've been disabled for 40 years, the last 10 with a wheelchair, 30 years before that with a crutch. And I can tell you it's pretty disheartening when you go to any public business, grocery store, or shopping center. The snow always gets plowed into the handicapped parking spaces. It's kind of funny how the able-bodied society tends to see we are out of sight, out of mind, or that we can be temporarily able-bodied, apparently, or cured, because for some reason during a snowstorm, apparently we don't need to go out and get toilet paper and milk like everybody else, because that's why we get snow plowed in there. So it's not easy, and it's not easy for removal, and you will even look at these laws and see they talk about being reasonable. I like to think that our commission tries to be reasonable too. So when we ask for reasonable, we understand there's different laws and sets of rules for renters, for business owners, for homeowners, and there's also the humanity element of people we've described today that are older and sick, disabled, incapacitated, temporarily or permanently, that they kind of run out of helpers in a snowstorm like this afterwards, but it does not negate their need to get out to their jobs, to take care of their families, to get their groceries, and go to the doctors. But it also, we have to understand that you can go out, your neighbor can go out and clean their sidewalks, and then a good gust of wind is all it takes to cover it up and required to do it again. So I appreciate everybody here talking tonight about that reasonableness too, and how in a probably a good way, it's probably in some ways good to have waited to have this discussion. And it's probably even better, I guess my hope is that, especially in this whole thing, not just disabled people, but everybody is disabled in a blizzard. Sometimes I like that about it, that it prioritizes what's really important in the world when we're forced to stay home. But it's not really quite that simple. So it seems to me that a good group discussion like this, when the weather's good, before the storm comes, because yes, everything about it is still a risk and a poker shot, isn't it, as to whether you'll get it, how much, etc., is to have this kind of thing. And I would like to see more of these discussions involve the groups. I really would have loved to see Jeffrey Trash show up here from the emergency. Because I think he would be very helpful in terms of mapping. Jess and I were even talking as we're listening tonight about things, the sorts of things that we could help mapping. In this day of GPS mapping, I know there are some ways we could do that in the good weather, where we can discern where are the vulnerable populations, either due to density or streets like we talked about with Walnut Street, where they're one way, impossible for the trucks to get in and out, impossible for the people that live there to get in and out, even sometimes in good time, in good weather. Abandoned cars, another issue. All these people in the departments that deal with that, if we could start mapping out, and I would contribute the commission on this, for vulnerable populations who are elderly, disabled. We have a great database with Brenna and the clerk's office for where handicap parking is, for instance. So that could be a start for mapping some of these things ahead of time, because these guys have to do the application, the physical hard work to get out there. It would be really nice if some of us could do some of the logistical stuff, perhaps, ahead of time to work from. But that's just one thought. Mostly, other than that, I will say to you in terms of our own commission, again, it is hard enough in good weather when you are disabled, trying to get to your jobs and to do all the things. Half the people in the city don't even realize our commission exists. So we have been, I'm proud to say, working really hard, building on what one of our members who's been doing it over 20 years has started, and going well beyond just doing requests for applications for handicap parking signs. There's so much more we can do. And I've got to tell you, it's not partisanship, it is just reality. The administration we have now, the reality is we are not building infrastructure. We are not getting the funds from the top down. It isn't just the state, it's not just our municipality. Everybody's getting hurt in this. And so we all have to be really realistic. Infrastructure is huge. And we're just discussing one aspect of it. And again, for the people that we represent in our commission, we are all age groups. 1 in 4 people in the state of Massachusetts is disabled. One of the things that our commission is doing is having a first time survey of Holyoke's disabled residents. Even the census has those figures as high as that 1 in 4 that I quoted from the CDC. But with the census, they don't count people over 65. So we all know you can add an additional percentage of disabled people in that age group as well. So we are valuable residents. We want to continue to contribute, but transportation is one of our biggest issues. So we are doing this survey, first of all, to try to calculate how many disabled residents we actually have in Holyoke. We have it for Hampden County. I gave you the figures for the state, but specifically for Holyoke. Then we want to find out where they live. Then we want to find out what their obstacles are. And already we've categorized it very much, which the other thing we're proud of, which is a first-time budget for someone talked about a private or nonprofit organization against violence for women and domestic violence, a truly good goal. And $2 million, I understand, much larger budget, so I don't cringe at that amount. So when she says it's small, well, we got a $39,000 budget to work from. But we laugh, but we're proud of it. And our mayor is the first mayor who helped us support it. So first I want to tell you that budget because it comes not from additional taxes from anybody. Nope, it comes from, and the state supports it for any municipality, and that is, it comes from the fine violators of handicap parking. So anybody that's paying fines, that's where we can get that money from. Makes sense, because the sad thing is, for 35 years of the ADA law, and we've been collecting that money for almost this long in this city that I love, but we have never put it towards the rights of disabled people. And yet the law is devised to protect those very people. So it makes sense that it comes out of it. And one of the categories we're using is transportation. We're going to be helping with both the senior center to get accessible transportation. We're also working in view of knowing there would be cuts to the PVTA, again, coming from the top of government, to help disabled people get free fares. They're already doing a free fare for the state for fiscal year 2026. So we're also trying in that to help the Amtrak station in Holyoke become more accessible. And then it goes on to public education. We're helping with programs with kids get assistive devices who suffer from various disabilities, everything from enhanced microphones and earphones for them to engage in their own education so they are productive members of community as well. And the survey, of course, will cost. But again, back to that survey, it reflects the same sort of consistency we're finding in where our needs and obstacles are. And it definitely does include also safe streets, curb cuts. Transportation can't happen for us. I can roll pretty fast and pretty far in my power wheelchair, even without a vehicle, but not when snow blocks it. Not when there are curb cuts, not when the curb cuts are not placed logistically close to MTVA public buses, so people can again make use, who are disabled, of those buses, because the vehicles that carry 140-pound chairs, and that's without me in it, around, are costly, and there's no tax break, and there's it's privately funded for our ramps for all things. So anyway, it didn't want to ramble so much, but mostly wanted to give you an idea that there are things we can all do to work together. And if we can do what we're doing with $39,000, you know, I laugh, I guess. I don't laugh. Holyoke is a city, I've only been here 15 years and fell in love with it for lots of reasons, and the people particularly. But it is a city of low revenue. We're still trying to get out of the issues from transition into technology and industry from the last century. And we have a lot of need because of it. But we are also really used to pitching in. I've never seen so many community volunteers, even workers of the city, like I myself and Jessica here, working our so-called paying jobs, but this is a volunteer job. And I commend everybody here who also is in a public office doing the same thing. And your monetary recompense is not very much for the hours you put in. I would say lower than minimum wage by a good bit.
I can confirm. I tracked my hours this month.
So I'm here to cheer on you guys too, but I do think anything you can do to help this organization, our organization, these valuable people will be a benefit to the whole entire community. And I think we can all put our heads together on this issue. So I'm going to now that I finally got the mic and been on coffee for too long today, pass this on to my cohort, Jessica, who wants to talk to you about a specific.
Yeah, I do want to just interject for a moment that we do also have another member of the Commission on Disability with us online. Sarah Wiedemann is here virtually.
Sarah made it.
Yeah, Sarah has been with us this whole time. And later on, Sarah, if you're willing to speak to the letter you sent, I do want to talk about the action item in there as well. That is, we are talking about items 5 and 6 together because we took them up as a package.
That's great.
Is it on? Okay. So I'm here to share a story. It's one of the items just to bring awareness to a situation that we encountered in Ward 3. Being part of the Commissions on Disability, we observe what the needs are in our neighborhoods. You're very aware that the issues that we experienced on our street. My concern is the neighbors with disabilities that do have the assigned parking signs to their homes during the parking ban. There was a time where the parking ban was a little excessive, so to say. It went on for like a couple weeks. The other side was cleared, it was already melting, and we were still on a parking ban. They could not access their homes. We would have to cross them to their homes to make sure that they can have, access to their homes. Basically, there were times where we were door dashing in the middle of a storm because they can't leave. They were blocked in. So I just wanted to share that story, maybe to have them revisit, strategize, not per se ask for an accommodation, because I know it's hard. I know DPW, it's hard to plow one side of the road when you have certain vehicles at their parking, on their handicap parking. But it was a real issue and concern because of the snowstorm, how, much snow fell down and the inconsistent. And then having the parking ban for so long, our neighbors with disabilities could not access their parking, which made it hard for them to grocery shop, which made it hard for them to leave, come back, and make sure they have parking space available. There was times I myself kept my vehicle parked and was Ubering to work because I had nowhere to go. Neighborhoods change. People move out, people move in. With that comes more vehicles. Now you have the issue of landlords not utilizing their driveways because it's easier for them. So now you have multiple cars, taking up spaces in the neighborhood. On top of that, we have an issue with handicap parking as well. So I just wanted to bring that into light and maybe, strategize something for the next winter, because it did cause an issue.
Yeah, no, thank you. I definitely agree. For those who don't know, we are neighbors, so absolutely.
We are neighbors, and we're out there digging everyone. Now we have people struck, FedEx drivers, door dashers, for the people that had disabilities. We had to dig them out and send them on their way. So Ann and I are out there every winter.
I will say that the snow is the community builder on our street, because there was that ice storm. But I love that you brought this up, because this speaks directly to the point that Sarah brings up in her letter. Sarah, are you able to come to microphone and join us if you would like?
Yes, hi, I'm here.
Excellent. Hello.
Hi. Yeah, so that's exactly right. I'm one of the members of the Commission on Disability, and when Jessica shared the story of what had happened and what she observed in her neighborhood, I realized that this is really a citywide issue for any area where people have designated handicap parking. When parking bans last on one side, but your designated parking is on the other side, how does that affect our citizens with disabilities? And so we talked about it at the commission and decided to write the letter. So although it's my name on the letter, it's really from the commission. It was more of a question, how can we work together as a city to sort of help our citizens who need the handicap placard and the parking that it provides in cases like this in the future.
Yes, excellent. Thank you. I wanted to sort of connect those pieces in the discussion, because this seems like a short-term, possibly workable solution, or something that we could discuss with an order or some other kind of thing. But to the point, what the heart of the letter seems to be asking is if there is potential for designated, approved, handicapped spots that have been cleared appropriately to be exempted from parking bans during winter parking bans, in order to enable access in accord with ADA and snow removal and accessibility issues in Massachusetts. Am I understanding that? Am I representing that correctly?
Yes, that was a suggestion. Like, is there a way we could problem solve? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was one idea. Exactly.
Excellent. I think it is an excellent suggestion.
And I just
Please go ahead, Lynn.
interjecting, it's Lynn, Sarah, we appreciated Sarah taking on the job of doing this, and we went through, as Sarah said, the entire commission approved it as a suggestion of a place to start off with and a concrete solution for one aspect of the problem anyway.
I would open the floor to any questions or discussions. Mr. Galler, you are also welcome to participate in this conversation if you would like to. Are there any questions from folks in chambers, online, or I think that's most of the places we could be. Councillor Panich, you look like you're reaching for the microphone.
Well, this is really just a footnote to the general discussion, but it sounds like an excellent thing to explore. And also, this is why virtually every site plan ever approved by the planning board has a condition that snow shall not be stored on required parking spaces, including, obviously, handicap parking spaces. If that is being violated, many things happened before or are not subject to site plan review, but it should not be violated anywhere in the city. Those spaces are supposed to be snow-free.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, I'm Mike Gallagher, Director of DPW, as you already know from being in here tonight. So first of all, you can blame me for the length of the parking ban. The ordinance puts that decision with the Director of Public Works. You've pointed out unintended consequences. It was necessary to keep the parking ban going. Parking ban is not just for active snow plowing and removal. A lot of the streets in the city, we need to be able to make sure there's enough room if an ambulance or a fire truck has to go down the street. And that's the biggest consideration when we do extend a parking ban, is making sure we can get down the streets. If it was mentioned earlier how it stayed cold for a long time, and we didn't get melt. We didn't have help from Mother Nature. It was frustrating to a lot of people. I received a lot of complaints about how questioning the parking ban, and the one thing just brought up here, the way the parking ban is structured, it's really a total for the entire city. There's no breakdown of districting or special parking spaces for areas that can be exempted from the ban. It's really an all or nothing when the parking ban is issued, and I simply can only work with what our ordinance allows me to work with. It's a pretty good question or suggestion for the city council to possibly looking at being able to allow leeway for exempt accessible parking spaces out on the street from the ban. I'm open to listening on that and working with the council to see if that can happen in the future. I'm hoping in the future years we don't have a set of storms back to back that require an extended parking ban like we just had too. That's all. If you have any questions for me, feel free to ask.
Awesome, thank you.
I would appreciate that, and I would say that, when you...
Is the microphone on? Sorry.
I would add, too, that when you look at, for instance, the set of laws for the state in terms of accessible snow removal, again, they try... like I said, I've lived in a number of different states, and whether it's home rule or Dillon law, the state generally actually doesn't like to get too interfering in local government, for good reason. Because each local government has a different set of demographics and needs, too. And you'll see in that document that they say very clearly yes, there is this state law, but most people don't want to go to litigation or discriminatory accusations or the rest of it. Most of us can work around these things, and I think that's what they're getting at, is that, yes, it comes in the power of the municipality to create an order that fits the needs of that municipality and at that time. So I appreciate that coming from you too. And again, I certainly think we've tried to express our empathy for what you do. And it's also, I'll just reiterate too, we have budget coming up for 2027, and I hope not just the people here, but the people that are constituents and complain about taxes and everything else, but then don't come to those meetings. I would strongly urge them to come to the city council meetings coming up at the end of the month, because that's your time to listen to who wants to cut where, who wants to put something through. It's also your time to make commentary on what you think as a resident. And so, yeah, that we only have so much revenue, as I say, but what we can talk about is where we best want to put it. And when it comes to infrastructure, there isn't much that doesn't hit absolutely every resident of, including our city councilors who are residents, that hits them as well. So I think, again, yes, I hope we have an option to talk more about in the past, and we are willing and more than grateful to put our input when needed on bringing updated order for how we can all work together on this.
Excellent, thank you. Councilor Purcell.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'll try not to get yelled at again by you.
Just don't talk about C-Click
I'll
Fix.
just try to be as brief as I possibly can so that I don't get chided anymore. During the parking bans, we move from the left to the right to the left, and all that good stuff. I just told residents that were calling me, or just in general when I was talking to people, please, please, please do abide by the parking ban, left, right, whatever side of the street you're supposed to be on that side so they can finish their job. But I also said, be neighborly too. You don't know, that car sitting there that hasn't been moved, that might be a very good reason why that car hasn't been moved. For instance, that somebody could be in the hospital, or it could be somebody with a disability that can't get out and move it because of all the difficulty getting out of their house from the crazy snow stuff. So please, citizens of Hoyoke, be neighborly, and be kind to your neighbors, and just know that not everybody can do as well as you can, and the best thing to do is help them. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilor Rivera.
I'll be short and sweet. I just wanted to just bring up this topic. We discussed it probably a couple meetings back when the chief was here.
Depends on the topic, but yes, probably.
Handicap, and some lady pulled up during the winter parking ban, and then by the time she brought her groceries up, she came down, had a ticket. But she wasn't parked there long enough. She just parked to bring up her groceries. The chief said in a situation like that, if you have to park in your parking spot, handicap, you just go to the police department with the ticket, and it gets fixed. Because there was a parking ban, so she had to literally park there, but the parking ban was for the other side. But the chief says they go with the ticket, they will work with them.
Excellent, thank you. Yes, go ahead.
With that being said, Jenny, even if they clear that space and allow them, like make accommodation, allow them to, park in a parking space, all it takes is for the citizen just to put the parking decal on the mirror, and if they drive by to take it, they would see the parking decal in the car, and it belongs to that sign and to that residence. So, I mean, yeah, it's good to bring the ticket to the police department, but if you see the sign hanging, what does that tell you? They belong there. So, I mean, it's good to know, but the accommodation, just for them not to be disturbed, they could be in their house, they're parked there, they have the sign hanging on their rearview mirror. they belong there. That's their parking space, or it belongs to anyone, you know.
Yeah, if I am remembering the situation, I think, I might get this wrong, it was a person with a handicap spot parking in her designated handicap spot that was on the incorrect side of the road during a parking ban,
Right.
who subsequently got a ticket, not someone who was non-permitted parking.
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I was like, I remember this, but I think the additional detail.
No, and yeah, what Jenny said, that's awesome. You can go
Yeah.
to the police station, give them the ticket, but also too, an event where, like our street, the patrols, they love it, up and down with the sirens, move your cars. But if you see one parked there with the hanging, you know,
Handicap.
hanging on the rearview mirror, you can't come out and move it.
Right.
Like, yeah, how fast do you want them to come out and move the car, and where do you propose they move the car to? If you see the sign in their in the window of their car,
Yeah. I think
give
this-
them grace.
Yeah.
is what I'm saying.
And this would be potentially something that if we exempt handicap parking spots from winter parking bans, this might solve all of these kind of according problems. So maybe that is partially a next step. Mr. Gallagher.
Yeah, exempting handicap parking spots from winter bans would, that would create a whole other problem. There's streets that have handicap parking spaces on both sides, or any of your narrower streets. If there's handicap parking, like South Summer Street, for instance, and Walnut Street, those are two streets that come to my mind that they have a heavy number of handicap parking spaces. If they were exempt from the winter parking regulations, those parking spaces would never get plowed either. It is a tricky situation, and I'll mention the. Technically, nobody's got an assigned spot. It's state law. Anyone who has the placard can park in the park in the spot if it's on a public way. Yes, yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's supposed to be the placard holder is supposed to be in the vehicle.
Understood. Thank you for that clarification. I think this is also important for us to keep talking about, because clearly there is a need, but also finding the right solution, not just any solution. Councilor Purcell for the second time.
And sorry, I'm using up all the time. I'll be real quick though. This is an easy one. It's another tool, excuse me, another tool in our box. Is to go to the city website and sign up for the winter advisory alerts. So the notifications will come right to your phone and say, no parking here, and they'll give you the whole story. So that's another tool in the toolbox that we can use to help
Excellent.
this left and right situation.
No. I am a big fan of Everbridge. I try to get everybody on it, because then those parking notifications go out, not just about the storm, but also about like detours or accidents or parade routes or road closures or sewer pipe flushing and all of those things. Those are an excellent tool that the city uses to great advantage. Other comments, other questions, anyone online?
So the only other thing I would add, again, and it all comes under the circus tent. Maybe that's the appropriate way to even designate this, because we're going to need a lot of communication among a lot of groups. And I just, listening to Mr. Gallagher and everybody here trying to put out the facts that they know, it also occurs to me that I have to bring up the one other reason that we are doing the survey is for education. It will be a tool of education, because there's an old adage, actually from South Africa during apartheid, for disabled people: nothing for us without us. And this goes for any group that is dealing with marginalization and discrimination, that nobody knows better than that group what they deal with, and so they have to be part of the solution. And so, again, in that aspect, even in talking about where we park. You could even consider that in terms of just how we ever even got the access to finally have an accessible parking space. And so, again, nothing for us without us. And even when I listen to some of the folks here, and I know their intentions are good, but there is sans the education. We are generally disabled all the time. It doesn't matter whether it's snowing or not. It doesn't matter whether we live on a one-way street or a two-way street. We need that accessibility. It's just not flexible for us. So again, in our survey, one of the things we'll be doing is education of government officials and workers for those folks who disabled in a very positive manner, I hope, but it's clearly needed. So I just wanted to put that in. Look out for it. It'll be in your HG&E bill, too, so you can't...
Oh, that's excellent.
All right. Thanks for the time, all of you counselors tonight. We really appreciate it.
I was going to say, before we wrap up, would you like to give a pitch for people who might be interested in joining your committee?
You were just reading my mind.
Or a very short one, perhaps, but yes, a pitch.
Yeah, well, you know how I can be at the end of the night, barely staying awake here, actually. Is that, yes, all the city workers here, I forget what the count for city is now. We are designated city workers in commissions and boards in the city, even though we are volunteers. And that means we're subject to the same rules as you all in many ways, and oftentimes without the authority. But it is also, I've seen some of the commissions and boards, even for like the DPW, they rely on those folks because, as you've heard, so many of our departments, engineering's going through the same thing, are short of staff. And so it is important to join in. And I always say, there's nothing worse than an armchair critic who sits on Facebook or anywhere else and critiques, but doesn't even come to a city council meeting. I've been here for 15 years, and I started doing it right away, for better or for worse. But anyway, join in. Our commission, any commission, but our Commission on Disability is doing great things right now. And we're a great group of people, and we would really love membership. The state does require us to be mostly disabled, because again, nothing for us without us. We know what we're looking at and how we can be constructive members of community and what our needs are. But it isn't all that. We have members who just have a great empathy and understanding of us and want to pitch in and may have knowledge of working within city government and community. Or you can be a person who is a caretaker of someone disabled. Maybe it is even a parent who has passed, so it doesn't even have to be present. And I've enjoyed it tremendously. It's a wonderful, dynamic group of people. I guesstimate we best at saying maybe 3.5 hours a month max, which includes the actual meetings. That's really not a lot. Yeah, I know you guys are laughing. You can have meetings that long. Lately, we have had close to 2.5 to 3 hour meetings lately, just because we're trying to get a lot done. But again, it's a great time to join, but we really do need a couple more members, and many hands make light work.
Where would folks go if they wanted to learn more about this and or express interest?
First of all, we have a Facebook page, the Holyoke Commission on Disability. You can contact us that way. You can also go to holyoke.org, the city site, go down to where it says departments, and they will list commissions and boards. Click on that, then click on the Commission on Disability. I am the current chair, so you can contact me. My email address is listed there. I hate to say this, Jeffrey. Jeffrey is also a good line of communication if you can't get a hold of us. We're usually pretty responsible, Jeffrey Anderson Burgos. But you have all that other information first to get a hold of us. And come to our meetings and participate.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. I very much appreciate your time and your patience. I know you sat through other discussions before we got to this one, but it felt very important to bring you in, particularly surrounding this conversation. Are there any other comments or questions from folks in the room or folks online? Okay, seeing and hearing none, I would entertain a motion that these have been complied with.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Rick has his phone on, so I do want to make note that Councilor Devine has had to step away from the call, so now we are still at quorum, but we do no longer have to do a roll call as we are both in the room.
Okay.
So excellent. So I'll note those both as complied with. Thank you so much. You are welcome to stay or not, as you like. I will not be offended if you go. Excellent. Thank you again.
Thank you. Motion to take item 4 off the table?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so item 4 is Councilor Rivera ordered that the Holyoke City Council request the Holyoke Police Department to appear before the appropriate committee to explain the policies, procedures, and enforcement practices related to complaints against property owners who fail to clear snow and ice from sidewalks in accordance with city ordinance. Further ordered that this matter be referred to the Public Safety Committee for review and discussion, including how repeated complaints are handled when properties have been reported multiple times without compliance. Further ordered that this information be provided to increase transparency, inform residents, and better prepare the City Council, the city, and the public for future snow events. Unfortunately, the police department was not able to join us tonight. We can discuss, but we will likely have to table.
I would take up a motion to table.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so item 4 is duly tabled. We will take it up again at a point that fits in with the agenda. We may receive a communication on it. Any of those would be okay.
Motion to take item 7 off the table?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so item 7, and Mr. Gallagher, we may need you for this one very briefly, so please, if you'd like to come back to the infield. I keep just wanting to be like, Gallagher, but I'm trying to be like professional. So item 7, it's a copy filed from 3/17/26 from Councilor Vacan. Order that the temporary speed humps be installed on Upland Road as indicated by the engineer evaluation. My understanding on this is that the councilor is looking for an update and a timeline. Councilor Vacan, is that accurate?
Yes, Madam Chair. That's all I'm hoping that Mike might be able to estimate.
Excellent, thank you. Do we have an estimation?
If I give a possibility to maybe early summer, the temporary speed humps are an issue of what the devices we have that we install, the temporary ones. It's very labor intensive, and if pretty much I have to have a strong attendance of the highway crew on that day, and not need to put them out on the on trash or any other assignments. It takes at least five employees a full day to install one of them. I could just start with when the rubber temporary speed hump goes in. It's about roughly 262 holes have to get drilled into the road for the bolts that have to go down into the road to hold these things in place. It's a long labor and equipment intensive process, and it have to come at a time where I can spare the personnel, limited personnel that we have away from factors like doing potholes that we've had a lot of work to do right now. And it'll really come down to having a couple of days where I can free up a large enough crew to accomplish the job.
Excellent, thank you. Councilor Vacan, does that answer your question?
Yes, I would just like to make one brief comment.
You have the floor.
I want to thank Mike for looking at this. I know he inherited it. It's been something that's been on the calendar for a really long time. And I regularly hear from residents on that street. And so I really just wanted everybody to be aware that we all know that it's on the list of things to do, and it's just figuring out the logistics to be able to get it done. And we all realize the issues with the potholes, and I'm grateful for the timely response to requests that have been going over to you, Mike. So I do want you to know I'm sympathetic, and I'm just trying to keep being responsive to these residents who've been kind of suffering. They're the next street over from McMahon School, and so they're getting what the school used to get. So that's what I'm trying to relieve. So I appreciate your efforts, and I hope you'll be able to pull the crew together, okay? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor.
All right, so Councilor Vacan, do you feel like this has been complied with?
Yes, and if we get to the fall, I'll be chatting with Mike before that, and we'll see what happens then. I'm gonna cross my fingers and say my prayers that this summer is magical. Thank
Excellent.
you.
And if not, we can revisit in the fall. So all those things said, I would make a motion that this order has been complied with.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Duly noted. And then motion to take up item 8.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so item 8 is from December. Councilor McGrath Smith ordered that HPD and DPW develop a list of 10 to 15 points across the city which would benefit from permanent speed limit reminders to the public, and present a plan for installing permanent speed radar signs at those points. We have brought this up and tabled this a couple of times. It came up pre-parade season, and HPD had asked for a 90-day extension or 90 days to bring it back to the table. I was hoping to get a communication. We were not quite able to get that. We do not have the information on that one. I know the DPW has been working on it as well. Knowing also that the permanent speed radar signs are very, very, very expensive and cost prohibitively so. So that second part of the order may not ever come to pass. Gallagher, you're going for the microphone. Go ahead.
Well, I do feel this is more of an HPD issue than a DPW issue, where the DPW does not enforce the laws, and I would imagine they would need to make that determination based off of data they may have on where they give out the most speeding tickets, or they receive the most complaints for speeding. The installing these things, that might be, in the end, that might be something that my department may be involved in if it reaches a point where the city purchases these items. But the typically, like the temporary mobile trailer speed warning signs and all those are all a function of the Holyoke Police Department. They move those around based off of areas they feel need extra attention for because of complaints for speeding. That's all I have.
No, excellent. I appreciate that perspective. I mean, I am inclined to agree as well. We had just discussed this previously with HPD, but had not yet discussed it with the DPW. Councilor Rivera, do you have anything to add?
No, just motion to table.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then
Motion to adjourn.
that's the one. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. We
Thanks,
are
Mike.
duly adjourned. Thank you so much. Have a good night,
Thank you,
everyone.
everybody.
Good night. Thank you, Linda.
Good night.
Good night.